G'day, wonderful listeners. I'm back again this week with episode 19, and I'm your host, Trev. Last week I mentioned getting possible help for the Moody Scholarship Fund through involving the three great Abrahamic faiths, Muslim, Jewish and Christian, all uniting together and supporting the Scholarship Fund in its efforts to improve the social injustice our Aboriginal brothers and sisters are suffering. The Scholarship Fund will do this by improving the education of promising young Aboriginal students. I also mentioned the possibility of involving Vinnies as well, due to my membership and long history with them. However, that is all on hold now, while waiting for Pete, the principal of the Aboriginal school, to arrange two selected students for me to meet and grant them certificates of acceptance to a Moody scholarship at a school assembly. So I will leave all that on hold for now and report more on it after the assembly takes place. But remember, I really have come a long way with the scholarship idea since getting the first hints or clues through special dreams or goosebumps way back in 2010. Improving the education of young Aboriginal kids is really important and will help keep them from doing crazy stuff as teenagers which break the laws and get them into serious trouble. Stealing cars and breaking into houses, for instance, which at the moment leads to them being incarcerated in awful jail detention. That jail detention confines them sometimes to weeks on end in solitary confinement and sends them into such depression that they can, and often do, commit suicide. Last episode, I mentioned a journal entry of the 9th of April just gone, which spoke of a lady in suicide prevention called Megan, who I got strong GBs or goosebumps over. My stepdaughter and Senator Fatima were with Megan when I got those GBs, and my daughter passed on to me Megan's phone number. So I called Megan and explained that I worked a lot with Aboriginal kids and asked her whether she might introduce me to Fatima, who in turn might introduce me to a senior Muslim imam. An intro to an imam is needed to involve the Muslims with my Moody Scholarship Fund, as you now know. When I put Megan's name together with the words suicide prevention, it sparked my memory to recall a special dream I had many years ago. So I looked back through my diary, and after searching, I found the entry I was looking for. The journal entry was of the 8th of November 2010, and it states, "It's 2:50 a.m. and I just had a dream about mustering and penning up horses. It could be good if I could get involved in that, up north or in the centre, etc., where there are horses in the wild. Export maybe, good work for young men, Indigenous and underprivileged non-Indigenous. Same thing applies to wild camels too. Could this be arranged?" That entry in my journal could easily be fulfilled using Army engineers and training personnel. I recall a TV program where an ex-Army guy was running a boot camp in the Northern Territory and getting success in improving the lives and behaviour of young lawbreakers. Officialdom was not happy with the guy running it because he was not bowing to them but running the boot camp his way. So there is an example of how boot camp style detention centres can be run to good effect instead of putting young offenders in jails and driving them to suicide. I don't know about camels, but it is a proven fact that working with horses is a healing thing. It has a calming effect and is enjoyable fun. I would not be surprised if the same thing applies to camels. It would not be too hard to work out a system where young offenders could help catching wild pigs in the Northern Territory. You could mix discipline training with rounding up and caging the pigs, or shooting them and using the carcasses for pet meat or something similar. I had personal experience with the good effects on unruly kids learning to handle and ride horses when I was doing helpful projects at the Aboriginal school a few years ago. As a reward for improving behaviour, I used to take a small group of girls getting into trouble a lot at school to an organisation teaching young people how to care for, correctly handle and learn to ride horses. It was a 20-minute ride in the Medjugorje Centre's minibus to get to the riding school, and on the way there the girls were all loud, unruly and making rude gestures to other road users. But on the way back to school, after spending time with the horses, the girls were quiet and well behaved. The difference in their behaviour was amazing. Learning to handle horses is a game changer, and it would be a far greater way to get young people to stop breaking the law than imprisoning them. Horses do not lead to suicide, like prison for young people. Anyway, I am keeping Megan's number from suicide prevention in my phone in case an opportunity for developing boot camps comes up. And because I've had GBs over Megan and a special dream over rounding up and penning horses, I believe such a suicide solution will eventuate in my lifetime. I had another experience with horses in earlier days at the Aboriginal school when I was setting up the after-school education cum social club. I named it the MC Club, and the kids absolutely loved being part of it. When kids were selected to be in it, if their behaviour and attendance got the okay from their teacher, they got a very cool polo shirt with the club's logo on the pocket and the words MC Club on the back. The kids loved those shirts. I found that out in later years when I used to see kids in the playground wearing the shirts even though they'd never been in the club. There was a black market going on in those shirts. I did not mind that. I was happy to see that the shirts were very popular and kids would behave just to get into the MC Club and get one of the shirts. The other horse experience was when the MC Club was in its infancy and kids were still hard to control. I negotiated with the Riding for Disabled group, who used to help disabled kids learn to ride at the stables about 15 minutes drive from the school. I used to get some kids from the Aboriginal school a ride if I approved their behaviour in the MC Club during lessons. I used this horse riding prize for only a short time because the kids fairly quickly learned that the MC Club was great fun to be in and they needed to be good to stay in. In the 10 years I coordinated a dozen volunteers at the Aboriginal school in a plethora of programs and projects, I developed lots of rewards for kids that improved or maintained good behaviour and attendance. The school I discovered in 2010 was far, far improved in so many ways by the time the COVID pandemic made me leave it in 2020. The projects my volunteers and I put in place were a very big part of why that school improved so greatly. The chaotic school I first met in 2010 became a school the principal, teachers, staff, parents and students were proud to be associated with by the time I left it in 2020. Now, hang on a minute. Something has amazingly turned up regarding my efforts to do a radio presenters course before becoming a podcaster. I've received an email that is guiding me again in that direction. I will let you know about it in next week's episode. I think you'll find it a bit weird how it has been spiritually popped into my life again. However, wonderful listeners, please like, share and comment on YouTube or like, follow and rate on Spotify. Don't forget you can contact me direct at email address trevstalk@outlook.com. I read all emails and appreciate getting them. If you are on YouTube or Spotify, you should be able to find the website URL for Our Lady's charity also. Have a look at it. So that's it for this week. This is Trev, tuning out.